This video covers solving right triangles using basic trigonometry. Now in this video I'm only going to set up the equation that you'll need to use. See my video on dealing with trigonometry in the calculator if you need help solving the equations that we set up. I'm going to do 6 examples and the video would be really long if we solved all of them. So the key to dealing with right triangles is to name all of the sides appropriately. So we have an angle, 71 degrees. The side 16 is the side opposite because it's across from the 71 degree angle. And the side labeled with X is the adjacent side. It's next to the angle, but it's not the hypotenuse. So we have an angle, the opposite side, the adjacent side, which means we need to use the tangent function. So we'll write the equation. Tangent of 71 equals 16 over x. Solve this equation and you're done. And once again, if you don't know how to solve this equation, either by hand or in the calculator, see my calculator video on how to do that. So let's go to the next example. So this is almost exactly the same thing. We have an angle. We just have to name the sides. X is the hypotenuse. It's across from the 90 degree angle. 18 is the adjacent side because it's next to the angle and it's not the hypotenuse. So we have an angle, the adjacent, the hypotenuse, which means we need to use the cosine function. So the cosine of 68 degrees is 18 over x. Solve this equation and you're done. Let's move on. So here, you could probably guess what we're going to do. We have an 18 degree angle. We have the side opposite. X is across from that angle. And then we have the hypotenuse. So an angle, the opposite side, the hypotenuse, that means we use the sine function. So the sine of 18 degrees is x over 14. And we're done. Just solve that equation. So now let's move on to finding an unknown angle. Now, I don't want to use a question mark as a variable name. That doesn't seem good. So I'm gonna draw over this, and I'm just gonna call this x. So x is an angle. 4 is the adjacent side. 9 is the hypotenuse. So we have an angle, the adjacent side, the hypotenuse. We use the cosine function. So the cosine of x is 4 over 9. You can solve this in the calculator if you see my video. Just be warned, and I talk about this in the video. If you solve this equation directly in the calculator without doing any work by hand, you can't use the solve command. You have to use the nsolve, the numerical solve command. So let's move on. So we have something similar again. We have an angle, which again I'll call x. We have the opposite side and the hypotenuse. Angle, opposite, hypotenuse, that means we use the sine function. So the sine of x is 6 over 9. I think we have one more, and you could probably guess what it's going to involve. Again, we have an angle, which I'll call x once again. We have the opposite side. We have the adjacent side. Angle, opposite, adjacent. We use the tangent function. So the tangent of x is 31 over 26. Solve this equation, and once again, you're done. Anyway, I wanted to do several examples just to convince you that dealing with basic right triangles using trigonometry is really fast and not all that difficult. Anyway, hope this video helped.